Wise Mini Minds.
Hello, my name is Ray, and welcome to another creative video. In this particular one, we're going to be creating a character called Mr. Sun. At the end of this video, you'll be able to come up with this design or another one that you want to do. What I ended up doing prior to this video is making a quick sketch smaller than the one we're going to be doing, and this way it allows you to get your thoughts down from your imagination and to play around with the shape and the color and the design. So I just wanted to let you know that's another way of working. You don't have to do that. There's no right or wrong. It's just another option. Now, the materials we're going to be using today are going to be markers, primarily, and I've got some special paper that's for markers. It's smoother and takes the markers quite nicely. If you don't have that, you can use mixed media paper, like I did the small sketch, and that works just as well. It'll have a little more tooth to it, but it'll work just fine. And then I also have a couple of colored pencils, one being non-photo blue and the other white, just in case you need to hit the highlights again. And then I'm also using an ink pen. And we're going to be primarily staying in the warm shades of color today, primarily yellow and a little orange. And so your markers should reflect that. You should have a yellow, orange, and then I also have a black for outlining the shapes, if you want to do that. These markers are acrylic base, and they go on smoothly onto this marker paper, even onto the mixed media paper. So with that, I want you to gather your materials and we'll begin. Okay, so now that we have our materials in front of us, I want to go over a little bit on how I arrived at getting to this preliminary stage. So what I ended up doing is I took my non-photo blue pencil and I again loosened up my hand, my arm, and then I eventually went and very lightly created a circle on the page. Now, you want to also place it as close to the center as you can. And after doing that, then you want to go ahead and divide the circle in half. And then once again, vertically and horizontally. This will give you a basis to anchor the eyes on. And when you're drawing in the eyes, you can either put them above the line, below the line, or right on the line. In this particular case, I'm choosing to put it right on the line. So we will draw our rough circle there and another one on the other side. We want to get them very close, and that would be called symmetrical, where they both are looking relatively the same size on each side. If they were slightly off, well, that could be okay too. Maybe you want that in your design, and that would be called asymmetrical. But in this particular case, we want to try and get as close to symmetrical as possible. And then we want to also put some highlights in the eyes, so you want to put a smaller circle at the top and an even smaller one at the bottom. And last but not least, you want to go to the bottom half of your circle and divide that once again, a little hash mark. And you want to add a smile. Okay, now you can then take your black pen, it's ink pen in this particular case, and you want to outline the eyes, on both sides. And if you make a little error, no big deal. Again, this is just a way of being creative and having fun. And the more you practice this, play this video back again and practice it, the better you will be at making your circles. Then you want to also outline the head of the sun, taking into account the best way of getting close to that circle. And last but not least, you'll want to outline the smaller circles in the eye and the smaller highlight. Ending with the mouth. And then you'll want to eventually fill it in with color so that you then get close to this, which is, like I said, your small, rough, preliminary drawing. It allows you to see what your design is going to look like, and if you want to make some adjustments to what your character is going to look like, then you can do that on another sketch before you go to the larger one. All right, so now let us start with the larger sketch. And again, you don't have to, but in this particular case, I'm also going to use the blue, non-photo blue colored pencil and strike my circle. And then I'm going to divide down the middle, vertically, and then once again horizontally. And in this particular case, for this design, again, I want to anchor the eyes right on that line. And again on the other side. Remember, you want to add your highlights at the top. In this case, these were actually the pupils, and then the bottom smaller one will be our highlight. Once again, you will divide the bottom half of the circle with a little hash mark, and then we can anchor the smile. Now, you want to take your black felt tip marker. In this particular case, the marker has two ends. It has a point on one end, and it has a chiseled point on the other. But for this, we want to go ahead and use the fine tip point, and we want to strike the circle. You want to go a little more slower this time because you want to make sure you're striking that circle as close as you can. And then you want to outline the eyes the same way. And you want to keep your hand just slightly above the paper floating. You don't want to rest it. You want to be able to have movement over the paper and not have your wrists laying on the paper, because that will restrict your arc that you want to draw in drawing your circles. Once you have that, you want to go ahead and do the smaller circles. In this case, it's the pupil, one side and also on the other, and then the smaller highlight at the bottom. And last but not least, you want to outline your smile. Then you can take the black marker, and whether you're using the chisel point or the other end that comes to a point, you want to fill in the inside of the eye, laying in the color in the same direction that you chose to create the circle. And you want to overlap the color, and it'll blend in. You want to take your time doing this around the smaller circles because you want to leave the white of the paper for your highlights. And so that's how you would do eye filling in the eye, and we can do that on the other side too. Again, being very careful to keep the white area of the smaller circles in white. And laying in the color in the direction that you created the circle as best you can. This might be a different way of working for some of you, especially the younger people when they're working with crayons. You're going to find that working with markers or felt tip pens are a little more smoother. I think you'll like it. Okay, now we're going to take our first color, which will be yellow, and I think in this particular case we will use the chiseled end to lay in the color. And again, we're going in the direction of the circle. As best we can. And if you go out of the line, no big deal. The main thing here is to fill in the color and to get used to using markers or crayons or colored pencils, whatever you decided to use. And if you find that certain colors, like black, ends up blending into the color, making a little smudge here or there, again, no big deal. The main idea is that you're creating, having fun, also that you're relaxed, and know that if you find that you don't like what you're creating, you can always start again. And you'll find that this is very relaxing too. So most of this drawing that we are doing is just dealing with primarily circles. While you're doing this, you can also be playing a little music in the background. And this will also be really fun if you have friends or family join you, but if not, you'll have enjoyment doing this on your own also. Okay, so as you can see, there was a little bit of black smudge here, but again, no big deal. We can call that a sunspot. Okay, now let's go on to the next thing, and we'll use the color orange. Now what we can do with orange is we can use that to give a little dimension to the sun, what we call shading, and that'll help to make it a little more dimensional. We can start at the top and work our way down to the bottom. And then we can hit it again, this time getting a little bit wider. And once more. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to start to put in the sun rays. And what I ended up doing is I ended up doing squiggly lines and variations of the squiggly lines, a thinner part and a thicker part in the middle. We can do that on the opposite side. And again, fill it in. Then we'll go to the top, do the same thing, either from the top or the bottom. And fill in. And then we will repeat this at the bottom. Again, these squiggly lines, which are the sun rays, they don't have to be perfect. And they don't have to all be the same. You know, when we take a quick glimpse of the sun, we see a lot of variations in the sun rays because you don't want to stare at the sun, but you just want to get a quick glimpse, and it's really hard to see the rays, but every once in a while you'll get a quick glimpse of them shining. And so that's what we're doing here. We're showing that there's various rays coming out of the sun and that they are all not the same. Some are thinner, some are thicker, some are brighter. Now, if it's important for you to have them all the same, then you would be taking a little more time to do that, being very careful with that. But in this particular case, I find this interesting to have different variations of these. Okay, now we're going to use the other color of yellow, and I think in this particular case we'll use the pointed end of the marker. So you see it really doesn't matter if you use the chiseled end or the pointed end. You can still get the same relative results. It's all about the control you have over the pen or marker or pencil or crayon. And I'm finding that as I'm doing this, not only do I like what I'm seeing, but I'm finding it very relaxing, and that's an extra payoff that you get when you're creating. There's a lot of healthy healing benefits in taking time to have some creativity in your life. So you want to make time for that whenever you have free time, either before school, especially after school, or the weekend. And whether you're doing it alone, or you want your family to join you, or your friends, you can even have a creative drawing party. Okay, so now we have our Mr. Sun. Okay, well, that concludes our creative day in drawing Mr. Sun. And as you can see, every time you do it, there can be variations from your original sketch. Again, there's no right way or wrong way. It's just you're going to find that as you're creating, things will change. And if you want it to look like this, you might even take tracing paper and put it over this and get more exact lines. Maybe you're not using the markers, maybe you're going to use crayons or colored pencils, or maybe even acrylic paint. But I'm glad you had the chance to do this exercise, and I invite you to play this over and over again. Have fun, do some more, and I look forward to seeing you on another creative video in the future. In the meantime, have a good day and have fun creating.
Exploring the world, one mini mind at a time.